Have you ever found yourself in a heated moment, words racing through your mind, yet you hold back? There's power in that pause. Imagine standing at a crossroads, where one path leads to impulsive reactions, and the other to thoughtful responses. It's tempting to jump in to make your voice heard immediately. But what if I told you that the true strength lies in silence? Consider this. Every time you feel the urge to respond right away, you're standing on the edge of a choice. Will you dive into the chaos or take a breath and assess the situation? That split second can reshape your entire interaction. The Stoics understood this well. They taught us that wisdom is not just about knowledge but about the timing of our words. Picture yourself in a conversation where every pause becomes a weapon against conflict. What if that moment of silence allows you to gather your thoughts, to craft your response with intention? Every interaction is a dance, and sometimes stepping back is the most powerful move you can make. So, let's explore how embracing this principle can transform not only your conversations but your entire outlook on life. If you're looking for more emotional balance, clarity in decision-making, and want to learn how to handle life better, this content is for you. So go ahead and leave a like and subscribe to the channel, because with each video you'll grow stronger on the inside and see life with greater wisdom. Time pressure. There's something about the relentless tick-tock of the clock that can really mess with our heads. It's like a constant reminder that we're running out of time, and the pressure to make quick decisions can cloud our judgment. I've been there, you probably have too. When someone asks me a question and I feel that urgency to respond immediately, I can almost hear the clock ticking louder, urging me to spit out an answer. But here's the kicker. That pressure often leads to responses that are more about speed than substance. When I rush to answer, I can feel the quality of my responses slipping away. It's like trying to catch water with my bare hands. No matter how fast I move, it just keeps slipping through. I've noticed that when I take a moment to breathe, to let the pressure ease, my answers become more thoughtful and relevant. Instead of blurting out the first thing that comes to mind, I start thinking about the implications of what I'm saying. It's almost like I'm giving myself permission to slow down, and in that slowdown I find clarity. I can't help but think about how this pressure isn't just an individual struggle, it's a societal one. We live in a world that glorifies speed and efficiency, where quick responses are often more valued than thoughtful ones. This cultural mindset can make it incredibly difficult to break free from the cycle of immediate replies. The truth is, when we prioritize speed, we're often sacrificing the depth of our interactions. I've learned that it's okay to take a moment, to pause, and to gather my thoughts before answering. In my experiences, I've often found that when I'm under time pressure, my emotions can get tangled up in my responses. It's like trying to solve a puzzle while someone keeps yelling at me to hurry up. The result? A jumble of words that don't quite convey what I really mean. Taking a moment to detach myself from that pressure has been a game changer. I can process my emotions, sort through what I really want to say, and then articulate it in a way that feels genuine and clear. Ultimately, the pressure of time can distort our communication and decision-making. I've come to appreciate the strength of a well-timed pause. It's not just about being deliberate, it's about being effective in my interactions. The next time I feel that urgency creeping in, I remind myself of the value of taking a step back and allowing the moment to breathe. Emotional processing. Let's talk about emotions for a second. You ever feel like you're hit by a tidal wave of feelings right before someone asks you a question? That's exactly why emotional processing is so crucial. I've found that giving myself time to process my emotions before responding can make a world of difference. It's almost like hitting the pause button on a movie that's unfolding too quickly. When I take a moment to acknowledge what I'm feeling, I can respond in a way that reflects my true self rather than a knee-jerk reaction. In those moments where I feel a rush of emotions, I've learned that it's okay to take a step back. Whether it's frustration, excitement, or anxiety, taking the time to understand what I'm feeling allows me to articulate my thoughts more clearly. If I don't take that moment, my response can end up being a jumbled mess of emotions that doesn't resonate with anyone. And let's be honest, nobody wants to be that guy who blurts out something completely off the mark just because he didn't take the time to process. I've had conversations where I could feel the emotional weight hanging in the air, and in those instances, I've realized the power of a pause. By taking a moment to breathe and reflect, I can approach the conversation with a clearer mind and a more open heart. It's amazing how much more effective my communication becomes when I allow myself that space. Instead of reacting, I start responding, which is a crucial distinction. This practice of emotional processing also plays a significant role in conflict resolution. When tensions run high and emotions are flaring, taking a moment to process can prevent misunderstandings from escalating. I remember a time when I was in a heated discussion, and instead of jumping into a defensive response, I paused. I took a deep breath, acknowledged my feelings, and that one moment of reflection turned the whole conversation around. It transformed a potential argument into a constructive dialogue. At the end of the day, emotional processing isn't just about managing my feelings, it's about enhancing the quality of my interactions. It's a skill that takes practice, but the more I engage in it, the more I realize its importance. By giving myself permission to feel and process, I find that my responses become more authentic and meaningful, enriching my conversations in ways I hadn't anticipated. Communication strategy. Let's dive into communication strategy, specifically the art of pausing. You might think pausing is just a way to fill dead air, but it's so much more than that. In my experience, those brief moments of silence can actually enhance the clarity and effectiveness of my communication. When I stop to collect my thoughts, I find that my words carry more weight, and the messages I convey are much clearer. It's like giving my brain a moment to catch up with my mouth, and trust me, that's a game changer. One of the biggest lessons I've learned is that the pause allows me to gauge the reactions of others. When I'm speaking, I pay attention to their body language, their facial expressions, and even the energy in the room. A well-timed pause can give me the insight I need to adjust my message for maximum impact. It's almost like reading the room and tailoring my communication in real time, which has proven to be incredibly effective in fostering understanding. I've also found that strategic pauses can create a sense of anticipation, making the conversation more engaging. When I pause before delivering an important point, it heightens the listener's attention. They lean in, eager to hear what comes next, and that's when real communication magic happens. It's not just about what I say, it's about how I say it, and the pauses I incorporate play a significant role in that. But let's be real, pausing takes practice. In a world that often rewards quickness, I've had to consciously remind myself that it's okay to slow down. The initial discomfort of silence can feel awkward, but with time I've come to embrace it. Those moments of quiet not only allow me to think but also give others the chance to reflect on what I've said. It's a two-way street that enhances the overall quality of our interaction. Ultimately, incorporating pauses into my communication strategy has transformed the way I connect with others. It's about creating space for thought, for clarity, and for genuine understanding. When I prioritize strategic pauses, I find that my conversations become richer, more meaningful, and ultimately more effective. Critical reflection. Now let's talk about critical reflection. I can't stress enough how important it is to take a step back and think critically before responding to someone. You ever find yourself in a conversation where you've replied without really considering the implications of your words? I know I have, and it's often led to misunderstandings that could have easily been avoided. Taking a moment to reflect before I speak is a skill that I've had to cultivate over time, but it's one that pays off immensely. When I pause to reflect, I'm not just buying time, I'm actually processing the conversation as a whole. I think about what's been said, how it relates to my own thoughts and feelings, and what the best response would be. This reflection helps me avoid those oops moments where I say something I don't actually mean or misinterpret the intent behind someone else's words. By engaging in critical reflection, I can craft responses that are more thoughtful and aligned with the conversation's context. I've also noticed that taking the time to reflect can lead to deeper insights. When I give myself the opportunity to think critically, I often uncover layers of meaning that I might have missed in a hasty reply. It's like looking at a painting. The longer I stare at it, the more details I notice. This depth of understanding not only enriches my responses but also fosters a more meaningful dialogue. In my experience, critical reflection has also helped me build stronger relationships. When I take the time to truly consider someone's perspective before responding, I show them that I value their thoughts and feelings. This creates an atmosphere of respect and understanding, making it easier to navigate difficult conversations. I've found that people are more receptive when they feel heard, and that's a direct result of my commitment to reflection. Ultimately, critical reflection is about being intentional in my communication. It's a practice that requires patience and mindfulness, but the rewards are undeniable. By taking the time to think before I speak, I foster clearer, more respectful, and more impactful conversations. It's a simple yet powerful shift that has transformed my interactions in ways I never anticipated. Anxiety effects. Let's face it, anxiety can be a real conversation killer. You know those moments when you feel the pressure to respond immediately? That anxiety can creep in and turn a simple question into a full-blown panic. I've experienced it firsthand, and it's not pretty. When I feel that pressure to answer right away, my mind races, and instead of giving a thoughtful response, I end up stumbling over my words. It's like my brain is in overdrive, but my mouth just can't keep up. I've realized that this immediate pressure can amplify my anxiety, making it even harder to articulate what I want to say. The more I try to rush, the more I feel the weight of expectation, both from myself and from others. It's a vicious cycle that can leave me. Active listening. There's something magical about active listening that really makes a difference in conversations. It's not just about hearing what someone says, it's about truly understanding them. When I take the time to listen actively, I find myself more engaged, and that engagement translates into the quality of my responses. Instead of just waiting for my turn to speak, I focus on the speaker, picking up on not just their words but also their tone and body language. It's a game changer. When someone feels genuinely heard, they're more likely to open up, creating a space where deeper dialogues can flourish. What I've noticed is that when I practice active listening, my responses come out more thoughtful. I'm no longer just throwing out the first thing that comes to mind. Instead, I'm processing the information, weighing it against my own experiences, and crafting a reply that resonates. This doesn't just improve the quality of communication, it strengthens relationships. The other person knows I value what they're saying, and that fosters trust. Suddenly, we're not just two people having a conversation, we're partners in dialogue, and that makes all the difference. Sometimes I catch myself drifting during conversations, especially when I'm tired or distracted. It's in those moments that I realize the importance of being fully present. When I'm not paying attention, my responses can miss the mark entirely. I may misunderstand a point or respond to something that wasn't even said. This can lead to misunderstandings or even conflict. So, I've made it a point to practice mindfulness in conversations, reminding myself that each interaction is an opportunity to connect on a deeper level. Active listening also has this ripple effect. When I listen well, the people I talk to tend to mirror that behavior. It's like setting a standard for the conversation. I've seen it happen in group settings where one person starts truly listening, and it encourages others to do the same. Suddenly, we're all engaged, and the conversation transforms from a simple exchange of words into a rich tapestry of thoughts and emotions. It's amazing how powerful that can be. Ultimately, active listening enhances not just the quality of my responses but also my overall communication skills. I find that I'm more empathetic, more attuned to others, and better equipped to navigate complex discussions. It's a skill that requires practice, but the rewards are invaluable. The more I listen attentively, the more I grow as a communicator and as a person. Information limitation. One of the challenges I face in conversations is the overwhelming amount of information we have at our fingertips. In this digital age, it's easy to get lost in a sea of facts and figures. Sometimes I feel the pressure to respond quickly, but I've learned that taking a step back to limit the information I process can actually enhance the quality of my responses. When I focus on a few key points instead of trying to juggle everything at once, it allows me to clarify my thoughts and respond more effectively. When I've got too much information swirling around in my mind, it can lead to confusion. I've noticed that in discussions where I try to incorporate every piece of data I've come across, my answers become convoluted and less impactful. By narrowing it down, I can zero in on what truly matters. It's like decluttering my mental workspace. With fewer distractions, I can articulate my thoughts more clearly and confidently. This is particularly important when I'm discussing complex topics that require a nuanced understanding. I've also realized that allowing myself the time to process information is crucial. Sometimes, I need a moment to digest what's been said before I formulate a response. I give myself permission to pause, to think, and to reflect. This doesn't mean I'm stalling the conversation. Rather, it's a way of ensuring that my contributions are meaningful. By taking that brief moment, I'm not only respecting my own thought process but also honoring the value of the dialogue. This approach has also taught me to ask for clarification when necessary. Instead of jumping to conclusions based on incomplete information, I've become more comfortable saying, "Can you elaborate on that?" Or, "What do you mean by that?" This not only helps me to get a clearer picture but also encourages others to share more, enriching the conversation. It's a win-win situation that fosters a deeper understanding between us. Ultimately, limiting the information I process before responding has transformed my communication style. I'm no longer just reacting, I'm responding with intention. This level of thoughtfulness not only enhances my contributions but also deepens my connections with others. When I allow myself the time to sift through the noise, I can engage in conversations that are not only more meaningful but also far more satisfying. Managing expectations. In a world where instant communication is the norm, managing expectations around response times has become increasingly important for me. I've found that setting boundaries about when I can respond helps alleviate a lot of pressure. When someone expects an immediate reply, it can lead to anxiety both for them and for me. By being upfront about my availability, I can create a more relaxed atmosphere in our exchanges. This doesn't mean I don't value the conversation. Rather, it's about ensuring that when I do respond, it's with the thoughtfulness it deserves. I've also learned the importance of communicating my own needs. If I know that I need a little time to think things through, I let the other person know. A simple, "I appreciate your message and will get back to you by the end of the day," goes a long way. Not only does it help manage their expectations, but it also gives me the space I need to formulate a considered response. This kind of transparency fosters trust and respect in my relationships, allowing us to engage in more meaningful dialogue. Moreover, I've recognized that managing expectations isn't just about the time it takes to respond, it's also about the quality of that response. I've decided to prioritize thoughtful replies over speed. When I'm upfront about this, it encourages others to appreciate the depth of our conversations rather than just the frequency of exchanges. It's a subtle shift, but it makes a significant difference in how we relate to one another. There are moments when I feel the pressure to respond quickly, especially in professional settings. I've had to remind myself that it's okay to take a step back. By managing expectations, I can maintain my composure and deliver a response that reflects my true thoughts rather than a rushed reaction. This approach has not only improved my communication but has also enhanced my professional relationships, as colleagues come to recognize and respect my process. Ultimately, managing expectations and communication has allowed me to engage more authentically with others. By being clear about my needs and the time I require to respond, I create a space for deeper connections. It's a reminder that quality communication is worth the wait, and that thoughtful dialogue is far more valuable than a flurry of quick exchanges. Relationship building. When I think about the conversations that have truly mattered in my life, it's clear that the quality of our dialogue plays a significant role in building strong relationships. I've come to realize that taking the time for calm, reflective discussions allows for a deeper understanding between people. In fast-paced environments, it's easy to overlook this, but I've learned that slowing down can actually enhance the bonds we share. One of the most rewarding aspects of engaging in thoughtful conversation is the opportunity to connect on a more personal level. When I choose to have a deeper dialogue, I'm often surprised by the insights and experiences that others are willing to share. These exchanges create a sense of intimacy that quick, surface-level discussions simply can't achieve. I've found that by dedicating time to truly listen and reflect, I'm able to uncover shared values and experiences that strengthen our connection. Moreover, I've noticed that when I approach conversations with patience, it encourages others to do the same. This creates a ripple effect. As we engage in more meaningful discussions, we cultivate an atmosphere of trust and openness. People feel more comfortable expressing their thoughts and feelings, leading to richer, more rewarding interactions. It's as if we're building a strong foundation for our relationship, one thoughtful conversation at a time. In contrast, I've experienced the downsides of rushed conversations. When discussions are hurried, misunderstandings can arise, and connections can feel superficial. I've learned the hard way that glossing over important topics or rushing through conversations can leave both parties feeling unfulfilled. Taking the time to engage deeply not only strengthens our relationship but also promotes a sense of mutual respect and understanding. Ultimately, the importance of calm and reflective dialogue cannot be overstated. It's in these moments that I've forged some of the most meaningful connections in my life. By approaching each conversation with the intention to build a relationship rather than simply exchanging words, I've discovered a profound sense of fulfillment. It's a reminder that the quality of our interactions shapes the quality of our relationships, and that investing time in dialogue is a worthwhile endeavor. Thoughtful responses. I've come to appreciate the significant difference between impulsive replies and thoughtful responses in my conversations. In the heat of the moment, it's easy to blurt out the first thing that comes to mind, but I've learned that this often leads to regret. Taking a moment to reflect before responding allows me to articulate my thoughts more clearly and avoid misunderstandings. This practice has transformed how I engage with others. When I pause to consider my response, I find that I can draw on my own experiences and insights more effectively. Instead of reacting based on emotion, I'm able to approach the conversation with a level head. This not only enhances the clarity of my communication but also conveys a sense of respect for the other person's perspective. I want my responses to reflect my true thoughts, not just a knee-jerk reaction, and that takes time and consideration. I've also noticed that thoughtful responses foster a deeper dialogue. When I take the time to reflect, it encourages the other person. Cultural influence. In different cultures, the perception of time and the urgency to respond can vary widely. For instance, in many Western cultures, there's a strong emphasis on efficiency and speed. Meetings and discussions often have a fast-paced rhythm, and being quick to respond is often seen as a virtue. However, in other cultures, such as in certain Asian or indigenous communities, taking time to reflect and consider before responding is valued more highly. This difference can lead to misunderstandings in cross-cultural communication, where one party feels rushed while the other is taking their time to formulate a thoughtful response. I found that understanding these cultural nuances can significantly change the way we engage with others. In my own experiences, I've noticed that when I'm in a group of colleagues from different backgrounds, there's often an implicit pressure to respond quickly, especially when everyone else seems to be doing so. However, when I consciously remind myself of the importance of pausing, I can create space for others who may also need that time to think. This not only enriches the conversation but also fosters respect among participants, allowing everyone to feel heard and valued. Moreover, embracing the cultural differences in communication styles can help bridge gaps in understanding. For example, I once worked with a team that included members from various countries, and we faced challenges in our discussions due to differing expectations about response times. By acknowledging these differences, we created a set of guidelines that encouraged pauses and reflections before answering. This shift led to deeper discussions and more innovative ideas, demonstrating that taking time can actually enhance collaboration. Another aspect to consider is how these cultural influences can shape our own habits and expectations. If we come from a background that values quick responses, we might unconsciously impose that expectation on others, leading to frustration when they don't meet our perceived timeline. Conversely, when we recognize that not everyone shares the same urgency, we can practice patience and encourage a more thoughtful exchange. This awareness has helped me cultivate a more inclusive environment in both personal and professional settings. Ultimately, acknowledging and respecting cultural influences on communication can transform our interactions. It encourages us to be more adaptable and understanding, which not only improves the quality of our conversations but also strengthens our relationships. In a world that often prioritizes speed, taking a moment to pause can lead to richer, more meaningful exchanges. Impact on productivity. The relationship between response time and productivity is fascinating. In my experience, I've often felt the pressure to reply quickly to emails or messages, believing that being fast would somehow make me more productive. However, I've learned that rushing through responses can actually lead to mistakes and miscommunication, which, in the long run, can waste more time than it saves. When I take a moment to think before I respond, I find that my answers are clearer and more effective, ultimately leading to better outcomes. For example, in a recent work project, we were under tight deadlines. I noticed that several team members were responding hastily to feedback and suggestions, which resulted in a lot of back-and-forth communication. It was only when we decided to implement a brief pause after receiving input that our productivity skyrocketed. Allowing ourselves that extra time to digest the information and formulate our thoughts led to more decisive actions and fewer revisions. This experience highlighted how giving time to our responses can enhance overall efficiency in the workplace. Additionally, creating an environment where pauses are accepted can foster a culture of thoughtful decision-making. When team leaders encourage their members to take the necessary time to respond, it creates a space where everyone feels empowered to contribute meaningfully. I've seen this approach lead to more innovative solutions, as team members feel less pressure to conform to a fast-paced environment and can instead think creatively about their contributions. I've also noticed that when I'm intentional about allowing time for reflection, my own productivity levels increase. Instead of fragmenting my focus by jumping from one task to another in a rush, I give myself permission to slow down and concentrate on the quality of my work. This not only improves the final product but also reduces my stress levels. It's a reminder that productivity isn't just about speed, it's about the effectiveness and quality of what we produce. In conclusion, the impact of allowing time for responses on productivity is profound. By prioritizing thoughtful communication, we can enhance our efficiency and effectiveness at work. The next time I feel the urge to rush, I remind myself that sometimes, taking a step back can propel us further ahead. Self-awareness. Self-awareness plays a crucial role in our ability to respond effectively. Understanding my own limits regarding time and emotional processing has been a game-changer for me. There have been moments when I felt the pressure to respond instantly, even when I wasn't fully ready. Recognizing that I don't always have to have the perfect answer immediately has allowed me to manage my responses better. This self-awareness helps me to communicate more authentically, which strengthens my relationships with others. There's also something incredibly freeing about knowing my own boundaries. For instance, I've noticed that during stressful situations, I might feel the urge to reply quickly due to external pressures. However, when I take a moment to check in with myself, acknowledging my emotional state and the need for clarity, I can step back and give myself the time I need. This not only helps me avoid saying something I might regret but also allows me to respond in a way that is more aligned with my true feelings and thoughts. Moreover, being self-aware has taught me the importance of setting boundaries around communication. I've learned to communicate my preferences to others, letting them know when I need a little extra time to process information. This transparency has led to more understanding exchanges, where both parties feel respected. It's amazing how simply voicing my need for time can shift the dynamic of a conversation, allowing for more thoughtful dialogue. Self-awareness also extends to recognizing when I might be projecting my expectations onto others. There have been instances where I've expected quick responses from colleagues, assuming that they would operate at the same speed I do. However, when I take a step back and remind myself that everyone has their own pace, I can approach conversations with more empathy. This shift not only improves my interactions but also helps create a more supportive environment for everyone involved. Ultimately, developing self-awareness has been a journey that has positively influenced my communication style. By understanding my own limits and preferences, I can engage more thoughtfully with others. This awareness fosters deeper connections and more meaningful conversations, reminding me that it's perfectly okay to take the time I need before responding. Decision-making. The quality of decision-making can be profoundly affected by the amount of time we take to respond. I've often found myself in situations where a quick decision was required, but I realized that my best choices came from moments of reflection. When faced with critical decisions, allowing myself the time to weigh my options can lead to better outcomes. I've learned that rushing to make a choice often leads to second-guessing and regrets later on. In high-pressure situations, it's easy to feel the urge to respond without fully considering the consequences. I remember a time when I had to make a significant business decision regarding a project's direction. Initially, I felt the pressure to provide an answer immediately, fearing that taking longer would show weakness. However, once I took a moment to pause and gather my thoughts, I was able to reassess the information and consider the potential impacts of each option. This deliberate approach allowed me to make a more informed decision that ultimately benefited the project. Additionally, I found that when I take time to reflect before making decisions, I not only enhance the quality of my choices but also build confidence in my judgment. By considering various perspectives and potential outcomes, I feel more secure in the decisions I make. This confidence translates into more decisive actions and allows me to communicate my choices clearly to others, reducing misunderstandings and fostering trust. Another aspect of decision-making is the influence of emotions. When I respond too quickly, I often find that my emotions can cloud my judgment. However, by taking a moment to process my feelings and gather my thoughts, I can approach decisions with a clearer mindset. This emotional clarity enables me to make choices that are not only rational but also aligned with my values and long-term goals. In summary, the relationship between response time and decision-making is significant. By allowing myself the space to reflect, I can enhance the quality of my choices and approach critical situations with greater confidence. This practice has been invaluable in both my personal and professional life, reminding me that sometimes, taking a moment to pause can lead to the best possible outcomes. Now, as we wrap up this journey into the art of pausing, let's take a moment to reflect. How often do we find ourselves caught in the whirlwind of expectations, feeling the pressure to respond instantly? What if I told you that the true power lies in the pause? It's in those quiet moments that clarity emerges and wisdom takes root. Think about it. Every time you resist the urge to react immediately, you're giving yourself the gift of perspective. You're stepping back from the chaos, allowing yourself to truly process the situation. So, the next time someone throws a question your way or challenges your thoughts, ask yourself, what do I really want to say? This isn't just about communication, it's about mastering your own mind. In a world that craves speed, being deliberate is revolutionary. So I challenge you, practice this pause. Embrace it. Share your experiences in the comments below. Have you tried it? What was the outcome? Let's keep this conversation going. Remember, every moment of stillness is an opportunity for growth. Until next time, stay curious, stay reflective, and stay stoic.